This is just a quick introductory video for Schooled by Gru by Tanya Pobeda. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm a brand new YouTube content creator. I'm also a PhD candidate at X and York Universities in the Communication and Culture program. And I figured I'd take you through a bit about me and why I'm doing this work focused on board games. So again, this is a quick introductory video about my channel and the work I'm doing for Our Family Plays Games. I wanted to take an opportunity on my channel to introduce myself. As you know, I'm putting together episodes every single month for Our Family Plays Games, one of the best board game channels on YouTube. I'm a huge fan, and it's a huge honor to be part of their channel. So if you're like me, you'd like to learn a little bit more about the YouTube content creators you're listening to, and I figured this would be my opportunity to kind of talk about my origin story. Way back, this is me in grade 4 with my teacher, Mrs. Nicholson, who was actually instilled in me a lifelong fear of math. Another story for another time. But I was always really interested in games and gaming and computers. And I was a very quiet kid, and I really enjoyed the sort of structured communication that you could have while playing board games. This is a really accurate picture of the town in which I grew up, a town called Peace River, Alberta, in the very far north of Canada. It was like this just about all of the time. I think we had summer for maybe a few weeks, June, July, a bit of August. We had snow on the ground at Halloween just consistently, and it got to 55, 60 below, to the point where your clothes would freeze. It was a jumping off point for the Northwest Territories. A lot of people stopped there before going into the very far north. We had a lot of motor lodges, a couple of restaurants, but it was a jumping off point for the very far north. Here's my hometown on a map, just to give you a sense of how far north is north. This is Alberta, Canada, and there's Peace River. And you can see it's just a little south of Fort McMurray, which some folks may be familiar with the oil patch and lots of jobs. We lived in a farming community just outside of Peace River called Judah. It had a gravel road. We had no running water. We hauled our water from a dugout, which was a big hole in the ground. Wasn't great water, by the way. And we basically lived back to the land on this farming community, on a piece of land in this farming community. And it was very remote. As I frequently tell my daughter, we were doing tiny houses before it was cool. And it isn't cool, let me just tell you. This was the first home that I lived in on our farming piece of land, or the place where we built our house eventually. But we lived in this bowler trailer. I don't know if the folks who remember these things, family of 4 living in a bowler trailer for months. Let me tell you, people talk about tiny houses. That was not fun. Right there, that is not a fun experience. Then we moved slightly up in the world. From the bowler trailer, we moved into a trailer. It was a trailer like this, very like this one, not exactly like this one. This is a Creative Commons picture, but our trailer was yellow with brown trim instead, and it was heated by propane. We were raised off the ground as trailers are, and that's where we lived for years and years. When I moved to the big city, experienced my first earthquake, I just thought, oh, that's someone running down the hall, because when you live in a trailer, everything shakes all the time. So I worked for a couple of decades in high tech, and I decided to go back to school after 2 decades, 2.5 decades away from school, and do initially my master's degree. And then I liked school so well that I decided to do a PhD as well. A very foolhardy decision, some in my family have indicated. But I was really interested in using technology to do training, particularly training in workplaces to increase empathy. And I did a whole bunch of work, went really far down the road with a dissertation topic that created training experiences in VR for employees that had to deal with difficult, bullying, abusive, toxic environments. And I realized that tech was not always the answer to these problems. So much to the possible disappointment of my program and my terrific academic advisor, I decided to scrap all of that research. Now I still teach it. I'll still build chatbots. I do research into artificial intelligence, VR. I still create experiences, learning experiences using these technologies, but I started to get really pessimistic about technology being the answer to everything. That's often what we hear in culture, you're having trouble relaxing, there's an app for that. And I started to think that that was not the real answer to all of life's problems. Tech was not the answer. And there's a really good reason for that. What was happening while I was building all these techie experiences is I was also collecting board games. I was going to board game shops. I was fascinated by board game media. I was a longtime watcher of various board game channels. We were a little obsessed, and we spent a lot of time thinking, talking, playing board games. And I started to think there's something here in terms of connection, helping people socialize, creating mutual problems to solve. And I got really, really interested in the magic and power of board games and board gaming. And that's why I started to work on this as a primary focus of my research. So I'm creating this information, these pieces of content. I want to do it publicly because I want to be a public scholar. I've made a commitment to share my research openly with everyone because I really want to have a dialogue with members of the board gaming community, with other academics. I really want to advance the conversation. And that's why I'm not focused on putting my content behind a paywall in an academic journal, but rather making it available to everyone to keep that dialogue going. Now, I post content on Medium, and I will be doing more so in the coming months. So you'll get a chance to see my research findings in an open forum. As well, I'm creating this content so that we can have a dialogue. I really want to hear from folks. I love getting questions. That's how knowledge is created. And I'm interested also in connecting with people on Twitter. I'm at Pobeda, Tanya, so my last name and my first name. And I've also got a website where you can see all my weird and wonderful projects on AI or holograms. And it's tanyapobeda.com. So I'd love to connect with you. Let's keep the dialogue going. So this was my quick hello world for Schooled by Gru. There'll be new episodes every single month on Our Family Plays Games, but I wanted to introduce myself to everyone, let you know you're in the right place if you're visiting my channel. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share my research on Our Family Plays Games every single month. You're going to be seeing content before the rest of the world sees it. So check it out on Our Family Plays Games. And thanks for the opportunity to talk to you.